Welcome to Guaranteed Audio Live.
Guaranteed Audio is Guaranteed Video's podcast, and you can find every episode over at guaranteedvideo.com. For today's episode, we'll be covering the mid-90s dinosaur cinematic classic...
What's going on?
A dinosaur got into our podcasting compound.
Oh no! Kids at home, we need your help. You know what to do. Repeat after me. There's no such thing as dinosaurs. 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 That's it, kids.
It's working.
It's like a fossil bone breath. Fuck you! Well, we got a great show for you guys tonight.
We'll be joined by dinosaur expert Corey Tilton.
And comedian Rodney Dangerfield.
Stick around.
It'll be real great.
All day, every day, we are inundated with new media. Movies, music, video games, you name it. This is Media Currents. Ryan and Neil, what have you been consuming lately?
Media-wise.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a song. I usually name a movie or a video game, but I've been thinking about this song a lot lately. We did our last episode was about Power Rangers, specifically the Power Rangers movie.
Mighty Morphing Power Rangers.
Power Rangers. So I listened to the entire soundtrack because we didn't really talk about the soundtrack. Soundtrack's great.
Did Van Halen make the soundtrack? Because they're in the movie.
There's that Van Halen song is on the soundtrack. But what stuck out to me was the version of Free Ride. You know that song?
When they skydive.
Yeah, it's one of the songs that plays when they skydive. They skydive long enough that there's two songs that play. But hang on, I had to make sure I get the band names right. So the original is by the Edgar Winter Group. It came out in 1972 and it's 3 minutes long. The version that's in the Power Rangers movie is by Dan Hartman, who wrote the song. And a few years later, in 1979, he put out a 7-minute version of the song that starts off very similar sounding. So it kind of tricks you into thinking that you're just listening to Free Ride. But as it goes down this journey, it just gets like really disco. Like there's like pew pew sounds.
And they use the disco one for the 95 movie?
Apparently, but they don't let it go long enough in the Power Rangers movie to really
It must have just been cheaper to license it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also like that weird remix of everybody's kung fu fighting that's in that movie. It's an interesting soundtrack. It's totally worth listening to.
We're probably going to do a whole new podcast on the Power Rangers movie, like a second one. Like
Another one on the Power
100
Rangers.
minutes was not nearly
There
enough.
are dinosaurs in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dinosaur movie.
True.
I watched Hereditary.
A film.
The new film Hereditary, with the mostly actors and actresses that I'm less than familiar with, but it's got that great, I don't remember the name of her. She's Patty Levin on The Leftovers. She's
Yeah.
Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
She does a really good job in this.
She always delivers.
She totally
We
delivers.
should know her name.
I should really know her name by now. You're right.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed because there was a lot of hype around Hereditary. The trailers, all the promotional material made it look really scary. It wasn't bad,
Yeah.
but it was disappointing. And I don't think that this new wave of this golden age of horror movies like Get Out, like The Witch, just because A Quiet Place was not where it should have been in terms of that.
Yeah.
And Hereditary, I was hoping would just trying to grab onto
make
that
up
lifeboat
for it.
again,
Yeah.
because I feel like I'd kind of been thrown off the boat for a bit. Kind of like we talked about with Cabin in the Woods. It's okay to try to make something new out of horror movies.
Yeah.
The Babadook is kind of just the boogeyman, but
Yeah.
you did something good with it.
Babadook is all about the style. Like the
Exactly.
way it was done. You've seen Babadook, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You could argue Get Out is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but they so clearly did way more than with that.
Yeah, you never want to be that reductive with a movie. Be like, oh, this is just Ferngully is just this old movie, and what's a better example?
Avatar is Dancing with Wolves.
Yeah,
yes.
like okay, but those are all radically different films.
And now when you suggested, hey, you should watch this really cool thing that's on Netflix, The Ritual. Again, it didn't like change my perspective on film forever, but they did a good job. And I said, the first thing when I talked to Kevin after I'd seen it was, this is a lot like this other great movie, The Descent.
Yeah.
Just because it's a lot like it doesn't change the fact that it was really good.
So are you saying that Hereditary is better for your tastes than A Quiet Place, but not quite up to Get Out?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
And
still-
I am waiting for that next The Witch level, like awesome horror. This looked like it was going to be as awesome as The Witch. And there was a little bit of Rosemary's Baby, and there was a little bit of, there's a little bit of Poltergeist. There's a little bit of The Omen. There was a little bit of Rosemary's Baby. There's a little bit of things like The Witch and Get Out.
Like Mambo number 5.
A little bit of the Dollhouse episode from Are You Afraid of the Dark?
A little bit of M. Night Shyamalan. There's a twist. It just never quite. When A Quiet Place was like a B minus to me, I really was hoping for an A on this one, and it also didn't quite get there.
So A24 is the name of the studio that released it, right?
I thought A24 is just the distribution company, not the production company.
But they did distribute this movie, right?
They did, yep.
This is their first big summer horror movie because they put it out
Really?
like in the thick of like blockbuster season. Usually they tuck them away in like February or something. So it was exciting to see them go like, you know what? No, our movies are big enough that we can own a summer weekend with a horror film again. That isn't like a movie masquerading as a horror film, but it's just like a popcorn movie with a bunch of explosions and stuff. Like I assume I hear it's very subtle and suspenseful.
Yes, it is. And I will say there's a segment from VHS 2, which is an anthology series of vignettes that the VHS 1 and 2 are both good. I'd be happy to see a third. Keep them coming.
There actually is a third.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
No
then
one
I
talked
guess
about
I'll
it, though.
check that out. There's a segment in the second movie that quite frankly, within like 20-ish minutes, they did a better job of doing what Hereditary was supposed to do. And again, A24, I don't want you to shut down, but
Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep going. Keep going. That's my media current.
They're making a better effort than most studios to make actually scary movies.
Yeah.
So and it's hard not to appreciate them for that. Like you got to take the mediocre with the home runs because they're not all going to be Piano Man. They're not all going to be Get Out.
Piano Man?
It's a saying. It's another saying that no one has but me and my family. They can't all be Piano Man means they're not all going to be greatest hits.
Not all of Billy Joel's.
I was thinking, is that like a Candyman kind of movie? Like, did I miss a really good piano-based horror movie?
Yeah. Fred Decker made a horror movie in '94 called Piano Man, starring Red Foreman.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Like he garrots people with the piano strings and stuff.
Sayonara.
Yeah, he drops pianos on them. There's so many good piano-based kills.
Play it
that
again,
have-
Sam. Or
Yeah.
something.
So my media current is recently.
Something sharp, knife, A sharp. I don't know. Sorry, go on.
Recently, my friend Joe Botch and I watched Jackass 2. My buddy Joe and I were at a wedding recently for our good friends Anthony and Michelle, and we started talking about, man, Jackass is great. Let's watch some Jackass soon. And we got together. I have DVDs of every skit from the show, and we started watching them. They were pretty funny. But about an hour into that, we're like, we should just watch a movie. The movies are so much more finely tuned and
Films, yeah.
all killer, no filler with the movies. Did either of you watch Jackass growing up at all?
No.
Occasionally, but not dedicated.
I was a big fan. I used to have a poster of Johnny Knoxville in my bedroom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was
From
super...
Jackass or from Men in Black
Jackass.
2? Okay.
From Men in Black 2. No. Going back to it now, it's still pretty good-natured. Like, it is crass as sin. And there are the hidden camera bits, mainly Bam Margera's hidden camera bits, where he's clearly staging stuff with his family. His family knows what's going to go on, but they're getting paid, so they don't care. And the stuff in the public, too. Occasionally, it's just really mean jokes, like where the public is the punchline. Mm-hmm. But they're almost all Bam Margera skits. So you literally can start a skit on a Jackass DVD. Bam goes, hey, this is the skunk car. And you just know, I'm just going to skip this one.
Yeah.
And that's just what we did. We just skipped Bam Margera's skits.
How did he end up getting a solo show? He was by far the least likable. And I hope he's watching right now.
He was involved
Yeah, Bam,
with
we're calling you out.
He was involved. He's in rehab right now. He was involved with the CKY stuff, which predated Jackass, which became Jackass, basically.
Oh, okay.
So he was like one of the skateboarding guys that was known as a skateboarder before that show. And Johnny Knoxville was moving on to be become a movie star. Like, he starred in like proper movies. He was the lead actor in a few movies. In the wake of people like Logan Paul, you watch the Jackass guys and realize, like, no, there's a sense of decorum and order to Jackass you didn't notice until you go back and watch it after looking at the Logan Paul stuff. The modern YouTube prank shows where it's just either fake or just villainous stuff people do with cameras, just making fun of innocent people and hurting people. Whereas on Jackass, you'd have skits like, let's take a bunch of bottle rockets and try and shoot them out of our butts at each other. Like, victimless, in my opinion. It's funny. It's really funny. And I think, watching these adolescent dudes, like, obviously reminds us of when we were teenagers. And, there's definitely some rose-tinted glasses. You can make a huge case for why Jackass isn't okay. But for the most part, they showed a lot of consequence in the show when people would get injured, or if they really did.
Yeah, that's right.
They would spend time showing, like, the recuperation, like going to the hospital, getting CAT scans and stuff.
Yeah, I've never seen someone in the modern era come after Jackass.
Yeah.
When I think about Jackass, that style of public performance, maybe without the violence, without the menacing, I think of Trigger Happy TV.
Yeah.
And how they also enjoyed this very specific form, but it was never funny that someone got hurt. There was never a violent aspect to it.
The punchline in Trigger Happy TV would just be, isn't this weird?
Were they from Australia?
They definitely weren't.
remember
It definitely
now.
wasn't shot in America.
Right.
But Trigger Happy TV, so I like Eric Andre a lot, right? But I do not like his hidden camera stuff. Everything outside of his studio, it's just not my cup of tea. Like, I feel like it's just mean-spirited. And Jackass, by the second movie, a lot of it was not hidden camera material. They got back to that for the Bad Grandpa movie. But, like, their stunts and the fact they talk as if, oh, no, we're stuntmen, feels like half the joke to me. I could go through any number of those skits, and, like, they come at the camera, like, with their chests out, like, okay, today's stunt. Like, I don't know, they were showmen. And I guess that's what I loved about them that's sort of missing in a Logan Paul vertical video, I'm going to throw stuff at innocent people world.
I just remembered my little brother a long time ago. He would refuse to swear, but I remember at some point he was trying to talk about the show, and he called it Jackbutt.
Oh, man,
I
that's
just
great.
remembered that phrase popped up into my head.
My 8th grade teacher, Miss Boyer, who's an amazing, amazing teacher, she encouraged me to get into film and video production. She was having a discussion about censorship in class one day, and I wanted to mention Jackass, and I didn't want to say the name Jackass because you're conditioned to not swear in school. And Miss Boyer goes like, just say it. What's the name of the show? I'm like, Jackass. And she went, why are you afraid to say Jackass, Kevin? I later found out Miss Boyer had like pot leaves tattooed on her ankle. She was
I got
cool.
in trouble for saying dang once in class. I said dang, and the teacher misheard me, and he took me outside into the hall after class and said, like, you do not swear in my classroom. And I couldn't win that argument. I couldn't be like, I said dang, I didn't swear. I specifically tried not to swear. And,
Yeah.
it's just like, that's the kind of moment that always sticks with you.
You
Getting
try to
like,
Hank Hill. Yeah. your
shoot
way
out
of
for
it.
something you didn't do.
Yeah.
Damn you.
You can say dang now.
I can say dang now. I say dang all the time.
I can see a teacher being afraid. They total zero tolerance policy on that, because if you give kids an inch, they're gonna take a mile.
Yeah.
But no, they also, like, there's no way that teacher is gonna go, you're right, I'm gonna listen to your opinion as well. We're both human beings here. I'm the adult, I'm in charge, and I'm sure nothing about the elementary school model has changed a lick since we were there. So
That'll be it for Media Current. We'll be back after this with our topic of the show. We're Back, a Dinosaur Story, the 1993 Emblemation feature film, executive produced by Sir Steven Spielberg, is the topic of our show today. Ryan Murphy, you have 30 minutes to detail the plot of We're Back, a Dinosaur Story.
all right, we find out that the film is structured through a narrative of the main T-Rex, named Rex, narrating to a bluebird who's thinking about running away from home as to how he came to be here, to be offering his worldly, grandfatherly advice.
He's retired.
He's retired from being a dinosaur. He's playing golf in what appears to be Florida or somewhere sunny and a destination location. He's voiced by John Goodman, who's kind of doing Bing Crosby from the Christmas video. He tells a story that millions of years ago, he was a regular Tyrannosaurus Rex chasing after some animal, and then some large stylized spaceship shows up with these big Blade Runner style lights coming out of it, and it's sort of not quite steampunk, but
It looks like something
Captain
out of Treasure
Nemo-
Planet.
Treasure Planet, exactly. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea spaceship type. I guess that it would be
Jules
steampunk.
Verne.
Thank you. A very Jules Verne style ship comes up, abducts him. An alien is there flying around, voiced by Jay Leno, and the alien, I can't get every. They make the dinosaurs smart, and then they dance in the street. And Walter Cronkite
Brings
is
them
an
to the
evil brother,
present.
and it's a garbage fire. It's a dumpster fire. It's an absolute mess. I can't do in this level of detail for the whole plot.
No opinion, please. You just stick to the plot. Okay?
Just the facts.
So in the end, the bird doesn't run away, which is totally inconsequential to every other person and everything in the film. Guys, let's open it up. I can't do this all.
Sure.
I think that was less than 30 minutes. So yeah.
We're Back, a Dinosaur Story has more padding than I have ever seen in a movie. Like, we put in the VHS tape today.
But
Corey,
at the same
watching
time,
the
yeah,
VHS.
there's too much and not enough to the movie.
just from the moment you press play on the VHS tape or the Blu-ray disc or whatever, we watched it on VHS today, courtesy of Corey.
Thank you again for
By
that.
the way,
Anytime.
this is Corey, our dinosaur expert.
Yeah.
Here to discuss We're Back, a dinosaur story.
Thanks for bringing me in for this
Corey
one.
had it on tape, and we watched it before we started recording this podcast.
Owning We're Back, a Dinosaur Story on VHS qualifies you as a dinosaur expert.
Apparently it does today, which is okay with me. It's,
I was looking at your collection, actually, and I noticed you had like a corner dedicated to tapes about dinosaurs.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a corner dedicated to, there was a series of bad mid-'80s, probably like 85, 86 dinosaur. They weren't even documentaries. They were documentaries geared towards little kids that just like shaped my early years.
Are those the like stop motion ones?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of stop motion. There's a lot of Gary Owens, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name.
Do you have the one about the guy who's working in a museum and he's turning into a dinosaur?
Yep. Oh yeah.
And it ends with him and like the dinosaur has a mustache and
Yeah.
glasses to look like.
Yep.
Okay, there's a guy who I'm still friends with on Facebook and social media named Charles Piper, who posted a screenshot of that and went, "Does anyone else know where to find this thing? What is that called?"
It's called Dinosaurs.
It's just called Dinosaur.
It's just called
There's
Dinosaurs.
so many things called dinosaurs.
And
Dinosaur.
then there's a sequel to it called Dinosaurs Again, I believe.
Not
And then there's a
Dinosaurs
sequel
2.
to that called More Dinosaurs.
Is that by the Claymation Christmas guys?
Will Vinton.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think
feel
like
like-
at least the claymation portions
Yeah,
of
it's too
them,
bad.
they're super 80s stylized.
Because I remember the claymation dinosaur at the end looking really cool, like kind of almost creepy.
Yeah, it's really well done. I don't know how they got budget for this at the time because it's a little kids. It's geared towards children. It's like a
TV special?
Yeah, I don't even know that it was ever on TV. It had to have
Well,
been.
they did
Everything
a lot
was
of
on TV at one
specials.
point.
Yeah. They couldn't put that in theaters.
Yeah.
Like,
But they were entertaining and they were super, at least for the time, they were super informative.
Well, they laid the groundwork for Dinosaur Mania, which led to the ultimate culmination in 1993.
93 absolutely was the apex of dinosaur mania for a wide variety of reasons.
Yeah, we
And
had
We're Back, a
the
Dinosaur
Mario
Story.
Brothers movie.
Yeah.
We Were Back, a Dinosaur Story. I think Carnosaur came
Adventures
out
in
93.
Dinosaur City.
Yeah, anyway, it was just a really big year for dinosaur stuff.
Now, We're Back came out in November and apparently was in development for almost 5 years, and it does not show. That
No.
movie is 72 minutes, I'm guessing. It's very short, very short.
If you told me they had to throw out half of it for some reason and then start over, that would make sense.
And the thing is, I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of padding. The opening, you put the tape in, you hit play, and there's a slow startup, like just black screen, white credits. They play the big song. I'm assuming it's called "Roll Back the Rock" or something like that.
Yeah.
They play like the popcorn song in the movie for they play it 4 times during the film. In 72 minutes, they play the same song 4 times.
The song really feels to me like an afterthought. Like some executive said,
It's not a musical.
This movie does not stand on its own 2 legs.
Yeah.
It's got to have a song that the kids are singing when they leave the theater.
Sure, and so the opening song hits and the credits hit. Then the opening scene hits with this bird running away from his family, and he runs into the dinosaur. It takes a few minutes to see the first dinosaur, which is fine. You got to build suspense. And then that narrative device begets the second narrative device, which is
Flashback.
to the Cretaceous period or whatever. But then they get abducted by the alien. They get turned into super smart dinosaurs. All these dinosaurs
Like
get
eating
collected
breakfast
by
cereal.
Yeah, by this like super smart, benevolent Wizard of Oz type guy named what's the good guy's name?
New Eyes.
Dr. New Eyes, voiced by Walter Cronkite.
Kind of looks like Mark Twain.
He looks exactly like yeah.
He's
right,
Mark
yeah.
Twain.
Very Mark Twain.
Now the thing is, so he has a brother who's the best part of the movie. He's the
Yeah,
bad guy.
we love this guy.
Let's just get to the good guy, the best part of the movie. The bad guy,
Screw Eye.
Dr. Screw Eye.
Professor Screw Eye.
Is
It's
it plural?
eyes. It's plural.
Eyes?
Even though he has
Which-
one eye.
He has one screw for an eye.
Okay,
His
okay.
eyeballs
And
has
that
been
was all I
replaced.
remembered from this movie because I think I saw another movie '93. So I may have left the theater after Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
And gone into the next theater where like my sister was watching this or something, and I just caught like the end of his arc, and I remember seeing the Screw Eye and being like, "What is this movie?"
Now, so we all agree the movie would be more interesting if it was just about the two brothers.
Yeah, that's what I realized halfway through the movie was there's a cool, you described it as Ray Bradbury. It's a little bit, spooky circus, like Something Wicked This Way Comes.
He's not much of an antagonist.
I think he's supposed to be.
He has
do
an
everything
evil
they-
traveling circus.
Yeah.
Which he, by the way, there's something to be said for. You're difficult to really swallow all the pieces of traveling circus. Got booked. You got a booking in Central Park in Manhattan.
They make Central
you
Park
must be
look
doing
awesome.
very well.
Like, well, so everything that's
This is
evil
before
about
Giuliani cleaned up, I guess.
so basically these dinosaurs get abducted to be made smart against their will and put in the Museum of Natural History.
Natural history.
Yes.
Yep.
They say it like
Okay.
6 times. And Dr. New Eyes, which implies that he didn't have eyes,
got
Dr.
new
New
eyes.
Eyes is going to put them in this museum so kids can see them. That's the crux of the movie.
That's his plan.
All these kids across the world have wished, I just wish I could see dinosaurs. That's
Yes.
literally the plot of the movie.
They
Okay,
show
so
bubbles,
he has a
magic
machine.
bubbles.
I have written down every disparate plot point in this movie.
Okay.
Which, by the way, there were 4 directors.
4.
Yeah.
72 minutes.
So we
4
got
directors.
There's an alien, which doesn't matter. There's a wish radio. There's brain grain, which is cereal that makes you smart.
Then Brain Drain.
Brain drain,
Which
which
is
is drugs.
Drugs. And they just look like
glowing
they just look like
Drugs are bad,
Advil.
kids.
Yeah, like there's like nothing.
Cereal is good and drugs are bad.
Yeah.
They look like 800 milligram ibuprofen. They
There's
just look like,
there's runaway children.
Yep.
There's New York City. There's the parade. There's
do they ever say it's the Macy's Day Parade? No.
no, but
Spider-Man's
they
in
do.
it.
It's clearly
They do
there's-
have like Snoopy and Clifford and a bunch of
Spider-Man.
Like,
So it's an
Spider-Man,
intellectual
yeah.
property. It's clearly the Macy's Day Parade. Yeah.
There's a dark circus. There's a blood contract.
Time travel.
There's a fright radio. There's time travel. There's a spaceship.
De-evolving drugs, which were the brain drain drugs.
Oh yeah.
They
yeah.
de-evolve you Mario Brothers.
They
movie
devolve
style.
you. Okay, yeah, those were okay. There's
Like King
hypnotism.
Koopa. Monkey.
And then there's Little Richard. So that's all.
So okay, back to the brothers. So the bad brother runs this circus, and I get the vibe that the bad brother was like run out of town or something, right? We don't.
Well, they explain. Do you remember the
He
explanation?
was
of,
driven mad because he lost his eye. I know people who have one eye. That's not a prerequisite for going crazy.
that's the only explanation you're given. That's the quote.
And we even talked about watching, like, maybe like he was driven mad when I killed his wife. Like, yeah, that could do it.
So that's literally the
He
line.
has
Is like
a
he was
beef
driven
with
mad
you,
when he
man.
lost his eye.
he
and then
lost
the
his
four-
eye, and is it implied that like a crow pecked it out or something?
No.
There's always crows around.
There's
him.
crows around.
There's
but
a bird theme in this movie. Which do you think that's because like dinosaurs
and birds.
Yeah.
So the dinosaurs are going to be put into the museum, but they screw up in New York City and like run amok. And there's a big music number, and it's very expensive looking animation wise, but it's edited terribly. And the movie has a lot of weird, awkward pauses. And eventually they get into Central Park where they meet the bad brother, Dr. No Eyes, Screw Eyes,
Screw Eyes.
Dr. Screw Eyes. And Dr. Screw Eyes is like,
Professor
oh, I
Screw.
want these dinosaurs to join my circus. So he asks them, he like blackmails them by
He said, I'm going to keep the children de-evolved as monkeys, a la King Koopa style, unless you do what I say, unless you take these drugs. And he literally reaches into his coat and pulls out a glowing bottle of ibuprofen.
It's funny to watch it now because Dr. Screw Eyes, they do everything in their power, the 4 directors of this movie, to make him evil looking. But I don't think he's quite. Like, he basically wants to run a good carnival.
Yeah, I mean,
He wants to put on a good show.
scare people, and people want to be scared. They're not going. He's not forcing.
They've
people
really
to go
villainized
there.
the idea of being scared.
Yeah, that very unlikable clown, which was Martin,
Martin
Short,
Short.
correct?
I liked
It's
him. Snubs.
Yeah, I don't. But when he explains to the children, this is a scary ride. Like, good.
Yeah, they really
Good.
villainized the act of like being scared in a way
It's
that's
like a
kind of
spook
unfair.
house. Like, I get I get it. I
Dr.
get the
New
concept.
Eyes played God when he went back in time, stole dinosaurs, and like gave them a soul. Basically, he made them sentient.
Yeah,
and they suddenly could.
and then
speak.
guilt tripped them.
Yeah,
Screw Eyes has predatory contracts that he's having children sign without any.
he seems so indifferent. Like the
He
kids
seems
kind of
indifferent. He
hound him.
tries
He's
to
like,
send
"All
them.
right, fine,
He tries
go."
to turn them away when they show up at the circus.
That's true. At first, like, the show's closed, leave me alone. And then we meet these characters for such a brief length of time to then find out the next morning at dawn when the children wake up, like, oh no, are we like under contracts forever? And the clown explains, no, he tore them up.
So
You're
yet
free.
again, there's so many plot elements.
Inconsequential.
These two runaway kids who are hanging out with the dinosaurs want to run away to the circus because it's apparently the 40s or something.
It's not though. There's like modern
The
like.
kids get
sound
exactly what they
equipment in
want.
The circus.
The kids get exactly what they want, even though Dr. Screw Eyes tells them he doesn't want to hire them. He's like, get out of here. Like, and they bug him for like 5 minutes. He goes like, fine, sign this.
Yeah, how is Willy Wonka a hero and this guy?
And
is
they,
not?
so they sign the contract. They start to cry, like, because they get exactly what they want.
They're 8-year-old children. That's what happens.
Yeah, and so then the dinosaurs show up, and the dinosaurs, to free the children, are going to take their place and get de-evolved into monsters, right? And that's when we see Dr. Screw Eyes' show. Like, you know, he de-evolves them into monstrous dinosaurs. Like, they're
It's like a crazy Alice Cooper circus.
it's cool as shit.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm not trying to be like cynical. It was the most entertaining stuff in the entire movie.
He's
right?
got lasers. He's got some real. Yeah, it's
Apparently
like a
magic's real and he can control it too.
well, either that or it's like a Las Vegas like magic show. Like he's got some high
I think
production
it's a
value
little,
stuff.
It's a little bit
going
of both
on.
because they keep cutting to like the tech guy who's
Yeah.
like pressing buttons and making the smoke happen.
and they really stress that, like, oh, the creatures in his show are people in costumes,
Yeah,
Correct.
which is
yeah.
fine.
and he restores natural order with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, he puts them back to the
Yes.
way they were.
Yeah, and and
But he's also trying to mind control them with his magic screw eye, which can hypnotize you.
and he only uses it once, and it doesn't work.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
true.
As soon as his lights come on, they're like, whoa,
That's
whoa.
why you do a soft open.
So, anyways, that's basically the end of the movie. You can figure it out. The kids use the power of love to break the dinosaurs' spell, and then the dinosaurs go to the museum, and everyone's happy.
Well, no, they
I got an issue
get
with
out
the
of the
ending,
jam
too.
is because the little girl, who's voiced by Lisa Simpson, doing
Lisa
Lisa
Smith.
Simpson's voice.
Not trying to change it a beat.
So she wishes. What was her prayer? She
She literally puts her hands together. It's a prayer.
and she says, "It's such
Quote.
weird.
Let
Let no bad happen." I had to remember that because it's such weird English. Let no bad happen. And then
Walter Cronkite comes back.
That's
Yeah.
the beacon.
That's
to
the
bring
beacon
in
because he has
Doctor Who.
his wish radio that he built that he uses to spy on children, and he finds out that they're in trouble, and then he comes back.
What a
and saves
perfect
them.
wish.
He
I
should have
could
been
helped
watching
at
them the
any
whole
point.
time.
Say, I wish no bad would happen.
A few things. Number one, this was not a Don Bluth film.
It looks
There
like it.
are aspects of it that really do look like Don Bluth and his style. There's some surprisingly really beautiful animated segments in this.
Yeah.
Some cool backgrounds, some detailed characters, some
Some intense direction.
yeah.
Yeah, at the time.
The little bluebird at the beginning, bluebird beginning, alliteration. I thought looked a lot like the character design of Rockadoodle,
Sure.
which was a Don Bluth towards the end of his period. And I thought, oh, is this like the way that, like how Disney has a way they always draw crocodiles and elephants? They have a,
There's
like,
probably
maybe-
some crossover because Spielberg worked with Don Bluth a bunch,
Yeah.
and then I think this was right after they parted ways, and
He might have just snagged some of the people from
Yeah,
Don Bluth's
probably.
team and said, poached, if you will, hey, I got one way of drawing birds, Mr. Spielberg, and
Yeah.
you're gonna take it or leave it.
Speaking of birds, the way Screw Eye dies in the movie.
It's awesome.
None of the heroes kill him. They just say like, "Do you want to come with us?" And he says, "No,
Nah.
nah." And then they're like, "All right, we're gonna take off in this spaceship, and we're gonna leave you alone in your circus tent." and then they leave him alone, and suddenly it becomes a much better movie for about 20 seconds.
It's incredible.
And he says, when I'm alone, the crows, and then like all these crows or blackbirds, start swarming around him, and the sound design gets very intense, and they cover his body completely.
It's like Brazil.
Yeah, it's like that scene from Brazil, and then the birds take off, and there's nothing there, and just the screw falls and hits the ground, and then a bird blows some green smoke off of it and runs away with it.
It's incredible.
It's just like weird. That's like the part that I think I saw when I was a kid in the theater and thought like, oh, this is a weird movie.
It's an adult movie.
Yeah, that's like the mystical, magical strangeness that the whole movie should have just been.
Exactly.
It suddenly admits for 20 seconds like this should probably be like heavy metal or something.
Yeah.
Like, there's all right, but now back to the trash fire you've been watching.
Yeah, just take the dinosaurs out. That's like the weird thing. You could probably get away with having a spaceship and a couple weird dream radios and a dark circus. The two little runaways in this movie, they kind of this
incongruous.
Rarely works in movies, and it's a big 80s 90s things where you have a romantic subplot between little kids and they're all embarrassed, but it's supposed to be adorable, and I never liked that kind of thing.
The girl was very aggressive about
And
it.
because this went a little bit further. Like they kiss several times, and she's like doing the
too many shots of the sexy
No,
eyes.
a boy's supposed to kiss the girl. Now you kiss me, and she wants it.
Man.
And no one's getting anything out of it. I'd like to state for the record that I don't think that Julia Child's is it with an S or just Child? I don't know. I'm not familiar with her body of work. She wasn't familiar with this body of work because I think that she read her lines, didn't know what this movie's about.
Her job is to pick up the dinosaurs.
She's the
and
curator.
She fails.
She's Dr. New Eyes' scout at the museum.
Okay.
Like she's like on Earth, and she got beaconed one night like a Green Lantern.
Right.
Why can't Dr. New Eyes be there in New York?
Why
And
do
like
you-
look
why do you
after
throw
the
them
dinosaurs.
out with
He
parachutes?
just
Literally
throws them out
sky.
and then says, "I'll see you at the end of the movie."
Why can't the Museum of Natural History just have a good dinosaur exhibit?
Why does a dinosaur exhibit have to be no grown-ups allowed? It's our secret. That was
That's
messed
weird.
up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, they're
That
like,
was
all right,
some weird.
how are they convincing parents to like let your children? You're gonna stay out here. The children are gonna come behind this.
Rex has very few lines in the whole movie, and one of them is telling a child behind closed doors, "This is a secret."
This will
What?
our little secret.
Not okay, man.
5
Not okay.
years. This movie took 5 years. Like this movie was in development before Little Mermaid, and then Little Mermaid comes out, and they're like, "No, we gotta step our game
It's
up.
not
We
the
gotta."
thief and the cobbler either. It's not like going to change the way, it's not like, wow, I really see where they're going with this. Like no one could see
Yeah.
where they're going with this. And that's
It's all right. So my list of things I wrote down watching the movie, which is just random things I saw in the movie. I think this is the outline of the movie. This is what it looked like. Someone just wrote, golfing, Jay Leno, a Wish radio. Then they kind of tied it all together with popsicle sticks and Band-Aids and
Yeah, it's just way too many elements.
yeah.
too many sidekicks, too many weird, quirky, loud, high energy. This film was mostly weird, bothersome side. Dweeb. Dweeb was clearly supposed to be a comic relief.
They're
but
all
there's
comic
too
relief.
many.
He
for
gets
relief from
kind of
what?
ousted by all the other comic relief.
By
I
this
don't remember him
annoying
telling any
alien.
jokes.
Yep. By the clown, who I find objectively annoying, who their roles could have been consolidated, as well as Dweeb.
And
as
the
well
kids,
as,
the kids are also wisecracking.
Yeah.
I
And
will
the
say-
alien.
Who's the straight man?
John
Is
Goodman.
John Goodman,
It's
I
Rex,
guess?
I guess.
So John Goodman's being very cute and soft-spoken in this
Yeah.
movie. He's very nice. Now, I heard through you, Neil, that apparently there was a voice actor shuffling, and that John Malkovich was
Yeah.
supposed to do a voice in this.
I'd have to grab my phone to get the quote, but there is a pretty funny quote from John Malkovich, like 15 years later, talking about
Like
how this-
sternly worded?
Yeah, because I think he was going to be the voice of maybe Screw Eyes or something, and he dropped out of the project or something, and he just like carried this grudge about this movie for years, talking about how it started out as something nice and just got messed with by the studios too much.
You can see it.
Yeah,
Like,
you can totally
It's
see
like a
it.
mess of a movie. And like,
Yeah.
now what's redeemable about it? Because we started getting into this
Some
before
of-
we got
yeah.
sidetracked again. Like, there's some money on display. Some of it's fun to look at.
The character designs for the dinosaurs when they're bad, when they're natural, is way cooler than their dumb, cartoony stick the two eyes together. And also the character design for Rex,
all the character design except for the dinosaurs when they're cute and cuddly, because I don't like that. But
So Cecilia Nuthatch, the boy crazy girl who runs away from home because her parents don't live with her anymore.
They're on vacation or something.
All the time.
Without her.
So Cecilia Nuthatch throws her hat out the window, and there's this incredible whimsy that the music swells. She throws her hat out the window of a skyscraper to signify that, yes, I'm liberated because now I'm going to run away. The hat floats down and finds another little girl that looks exactly like her.
But slightly younger.
Yeah.
And she's looking through the window at the exact same hat longingly. That wouldn't it be it's so to us, all 4 grown men watching this film on a hot day, who went, wait a second, is this like a flashback to when she was younger and she first got the hat?
As a kid, I thought it was a flashback.
If we are all collectively confused based on how they put these visuals together, then a child is not getting it.
That whole sequence is so confusing because we're looking at her through a shop window because she's looking at a similar hat, and then she gets the other hat that was thrown out the window, and then it fades to black and fades back up from black very quickly to another shot through a window of one of the dinosaurs. And I thought if you blink, you just think the dinosaur was next to her. But no, it's like another block of New York City. Like, there's just a lot of really confusing, weak edits in this movie. That the whole thing is really just hamstrung together.
The whole movie feels like it's made of those early 90s, late 80s animated parts that are just kind of weird and cuddly and emotional. Like, if you watch The Land Before Time, that's also kind of a hacked up movie, but it's whittled down. They didn't add things to it. So it feels like an incomplete movie, but the stuff that's there is like really gripping, and that's a movie with no comic relief. There's humor in it, but it comes from the kids being cute and having cute voices and having cute personalities.
Another Spielberg dinosaur.
It's another Spielberg. It's the one you should watch if you want to watch a Steven Spielberg dinosaur movie, because it's much better and much classier.
Sad.
But
Such a sad movie.
it's so sad. But this movie feels a little bit like it, or other Don
Were
Bluth
there
movies.
any
at times.
references to that movie in this? You think there'd be
Again,
one?
I really think that John Goodman's Rex, that when he is in his natural state, that specific model, that character design for a T-Rex is just stolen from the T-Rex in the first.
Yeah, he's like an orangish brown version.
He looks very
of
similar.
the green T-Rex.
The sharp
from-
tooth, the
yeah.
very
Sharp tooth. I think we're out of positives. I don't know anything else to really celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good animation in it. It's got that weird kind of dreamlike quality to it at times.
You saw that one scene when you were a kid in the theater. Had you watched the Blu-ray not that long ago?
Yeah, I did watch the Blu-ray, and it's every bit as weird and high definition as it is on a tape.
Ryan, did you see it on home video? On home video? as a kid?
I saw it in the theaters, actually.
Yeah.
I remember the commercial, it was ear candy. It was that stupid
Roll
song
back the rock
did
goes on a time.
exactly what some studio executives wanted to. They wanted obnoxious little 4, 5, 6-year-old Ryan Murphy to go pay for my movie ticket.
Corey, did you see it in theaters?
I believe I did. I think I would have been 6 at the time, so I was seeing most dinosaur things in the theaters at that point. So I must have. I remember the movie. I remember the song. I remember singing the song as a child, like in the car.
It's real catchy.
Yeah.
I remember my brother and I knew from the promotional material, it's tough not to ruin this movie with a commercial for it. I mean,
There's not a
to
lot of
just-
movie to talk about.
We know they're gonna be dancing and singing at the parade, yet we're still quite excited when they build up to it.
Yeah.
There's no build-up. Character just says, like, I know where we can hide you. And then they like, the
parade.
They're in the
screen
parade.
flips, basically. And then they're just in the parade.
Cool.
Yeah. Kevin, I remember, like, a year ago, you were, like, humming that song. And I was like, I know what you're singing.
I caught you.
I caught you.
You're a spy.
Yeah, you claim you haven't seen this since you were a kid, but
We had the tape as a kid.
you just remember
we got
the
it around
song all these
Christmas,
years?
and I think my parents bought the tape. So that wasn't like some $5 investment. That was probably like
$90
$20 or something. I watched it alone. I didn't even watch with my kid sister at the time, and yeah, it just like went in one ear and out the other. Like I don't remember ever revisiting it. I remember the song because they played it 4 times. I didn't know until today that Little Richard did the song at the end.
Yeah, they reprised the song again, and it's Little Richard singing it.
And although John Goodman, he delivers.
He can
and he does
sing,
his
yeah.
job.
He's a good singer.
At the end of the day, all right, but we need
Watch
the
True
version.
Stories. People like us. It's a good song.
Yeah. He, God, I'm sure there's a We're Back soundtrack that's must be mostly versions of that one song.
I also
Yeah.
one last thing about this movie's shamelessness. So the analogy is Ninja Turtles is to pizza, as Street Sharks is to cheeseburgers, I think.
Chili dogs were Sonic. These guys eat hot dogs.
In
Children.
one scene.
Yeah, they're right. Like a classic, like everyone. And I don't know what Bikermeister Mars ate, but it wasn't cheese, because even though that really sells itself, right? I mean, but whatever. 'Cause they're mice. But yeah, they had to establish that's a weird 90s trope. Our food is hot dogs.
And they drop it. They eat hot dogs on the
They
spaceship
have
at
hot
the
dogs in their
beginning.
noses and stuff. It's
Yeah, that's
disgusting. Like,
I think
walking
just
around New York-
animators like drawing hot dogs.
they're easy to draw.
Well, like walking around New York City, like they could have filled another 5 minutes of time with them like chasing down a hot dog stand. Or
There
like,
was a hot dog gag in the
Oh, I
chase
didn't even-
scene. Yeah.
Yep, after they got out of the
No, they like drag a
supermarket.
bunch of hot dogs out of the supermarket.
Yeah, someone's trying to rob a supermarket
Oh, yeah.
at gunpoint.
and then they knock him out. He
Dweeb knocks
flies
him out.
across the street into the police station, and all the hot dogs land on a hot dog vendor's cart.
Well, that was We're Back, a Dinosaur Story. Stay tuned for our episode's quiz themed on dinosaurs. A little water.
Yeah. You know that new Jurassic Park movie came out recently. If you guys, I don't want to tell you how to, run your show and stuff, but if you're looking for stuff to talk about.
It'll be real great.
A quiz 65 million years in the making. Every episode of Guaranteed Audio has a quiz segment, and this episode's quiz is run by Neil Ciceriga. Neil, would you explain how this quiz is going to work?
Like many other quizzes, the master of the quiz will ask a question. For this one, I rigged up a system where you can buzz in if you want to try first to answer the question. And if nobody answers in 5 seconds, then we move on.
And any button buzzes in.
Yes, any button.
Every
So,
button works. Cool.
Okay.
Dinosaur-themed questions tonight. All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Confirmative.
What planet did dinosaurs come from? Ryan.
Earth.
Correct.
Haha. That's your first question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, just to get. All right.
Okay.
It works. Just a proof of concept.
Okay.
All right.
Next question. What prehistoric family used dinosaurs as domestic slaves? Kevin.
That would be the Flintstones.
Correct. What was Pee Wee Herman's pet pterodactyl named? Kevin.
Terry.
Correct.
That's good.
No study.
The film Theodore Rex cost $33 million to make. What world record did it hold? Corey.
Biggest loss.
Incorrect. Anyone else? Kevin.
Theodore Rex, is that the name?
Yes.
Had the fewest screens opening weekend.
Incorrect. Should I just skip this question?
Hang on, let me
You-
try.
All right.
Most expensive comedy up until that point? Was it labeled as a comedy?
You get a buzz in, sorry.
Most expensive comedy.
Incorrect.
Damn it. All right.
So, it was the most expensive direct-to-video movie ever made.
Oh. No theatrical release.
Yeah,
What's the current
sorry,
score?
folks. The current score is Kevin has 1, Ryan has 0, Corey has -1.
I'm doing well.
Yeah. What are the 2 main colors of Barney the dinosaur? Corey.
Purple and green.
Correct. In the Super Mario Brothers movie, what were the 2 henchmen named? Ryan.
One was Iggy, and the other was not Lloyd. That's stupid. That's Harry and Lloyd. Iggy and is it Pop? Are they named Iggy and Pop? That would be.
You know what? You got 1.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the point. It was Iggy and Spike.
Spike. Damn it. The Super Koopa cousins.
That's them. In the Rugrats in-universe stage show Reptar on Ice, dinosaurs are described as the ancient enemy of whom? Kevin.
Dinosaurs are the ancient enemy of man.
Correct. What's your favorite dinosaur? Corey.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Incorrect. Correct. I almost got you there. What was the last name of the dinosaur family on ABC's Dinosaurs? Corey.
Sinclair.
Correct. In what film did Ringo Starr combat dinosaurs? Ryan.
The Caveman.
Correct. In what film did Will Ferrell combat dinosaurs? Corey.
Land of the Lost.
Correct. In what 2012 film did Dwayne Johnson combat dinosaurs? Corey.
Journey to the Center of the Earth 2.
Correct.
Aha.
Not with Brendan Fraser.
You got the point. All right, and I believe this is the final question. Approximately how many The Land Before Time films have been made? Kevin.
Approximately
Approximately.
11.
Incorrect. Anyone else? Corey.
I'm going to say 9.
Oh, incorrect. Ryan.
I'm going to go up. I'm going to say 14.
Absolutely correct.
What? Wow. What
As
a
of 28.
disappointing validation.
Now, if any of you had guessed 13 or 15, I would have given you the point, but you got it exactly correct.
What a
14.
sad real way to learn that. There should not be 14.
Wow. That's
Well,
like,
the
that
winners-
hurts my childhood right there.
The tied winners are Corey and Ryan.
Yay!
So congratulations, you two. You know the most about dinosaurs. Real dinosaur facts that I researched. Thank you for playing.
We'll be right back with questions from our patrons.
Questions and patrons. Ooh.
I wrote that on the train coming down here.
It'll be real great. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one and only Rodney fucking Dangerfield.
Thank you. Oh. I went to the cemetery to see the gravestone my kids got me. I got to my stone, you know what it said? Space for rent. When I was dying, the doctors told me, Rodney, you got 24 hours to live. I said, Doc, I'll tell you what, can I space them out? The doctor told me, I need you to pee on this cup. I said, sure, but can you get me one of those tiny little Dixie cups? The doctor says, why, you having trouble producing urine? I said, no, it just makes my dick look bigger. Thank you. I tell you, I can't keep up with all these websites. Every time I look, there's a new website. Somebody ought to kill that spider. Boy, the world has changed a lot since I passed. The thing has spun around about 5,000 times. I'm getting dizzy. They got driverless cars nowadays. We had those when I was young, too. We call them empty cars. And they were much safer. They didn't move. So, this show's for free on YouTube? You're giving it away. Geez, everybody wants to be on YouTube, then they want to be on Netflix. Me? I want to be at home with my grandkids. I wish I wasn't dead. I used to get moths in my sweaters. Now I get worms. Hey, it's hard to find clothes now that I'm dead. The other day, I'm shopping for a coat. I ask for a medium. They say, right away, sir, and they bring out a fortune teller. I say, wow, you can read my mind? She says, of course, and it's a quick read. No respect. People with low self-esteem get into the hard drugs, and it's a shame. You see people smoking a jazz cigarette, and that's no trouble.
Jazz cigarette? You mean marijuana?
Yeah, pot. But you know, I saw a fella last night in front of a club smoking a jazz cigar. Jazz cigar? Yeah, crack. So I tried crack the other day. Thank you. I mean, what's it gonna do, kill me? I mean, the stuff feels great. It's everywhere up in heaven, and it's free. You should legalize it. You'd all be better off, I'm telling you. Why, it'd be great for the economy. You'd all be happier. What kind of free country would keep crack off the streets?
I told you this was a bad idea.
So I was fucking Joan Rivers up in heaven the other day. We were blazed on crack, and it was the best love-making.
Rodney Dangerfield, everybody.
Hey, Hey, what are we doing?
We're answering questions from patrons, questions you can solicit over at guaranteedvideo.com. Any backing for our movie-making efforts allows you, yes, you, to ask questions on our show.
Wow.
Ryan, ask questions.
We got some questions right here. We're going to hit the ground running. Nick Uguccini asks, and I hope I'm saying that name right, Nick, and apologies if I'm not. What's your least favorite Pokemon and why? Neil.
Whatever Pokemon is number 152, because that's when I stopped caring.
That's what I checked out.
Yeah. Do either of you know what that is, by the way?
No, of the next leagues, they're measured in leagues.
Anything after
for the
Mewtwo,
games.
basically?
Yeah, anything after Mewtwo. I don't want that.
I concur.
Wait. Isn't Mewtwo 150 and Mew is 151? Which doesn't make sense that the mutant created from Mew, who's my favorite, by the way, that's not what the question asks. Why would the mutant version, why would the bastardization of Mew come before Mew? Because the system is created by a hack, and this is not real.
Yeah.
Kevin, least favorite.
Any of the chaff Pokemon from the first hour or so of the game when you're walking through wheat fields that, the plant Pokemon, basically, before any evolutions go down. They're just fodder. Or when you're walking through a cave and you run into, like, Zubats over and over again.
Just annoying.
Or
yeah,
the
totally.
yeah.
Well,
Rattatats.
the rats look pretty cool, at least.
They look cool, but there's a lot of them, right?
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Too many rats.
Too many rats.
For me, Jinx, she's fucking racist. She's a racist caricature.
about Jinx.
They've cleaned the good people of Nintendo
Well, now we have
have
to change our
changed
answer. We're gonna look like
her
assholes.
character
No,
design.
I mean, I hate
but
Jinx
that
too.
Pokemon is a racist caricature, and I'm so glad they acknowledged it's a problem and they fixed it.
Good on them.
And I still love Mew. Question number 2 from Melody Doll. What's your favorite type of rock or mineral and why?
Kevin, you do.
Kevin,
this one
you take this. Favorite rocks.
Sedimentary? I don't know.
Sedimentary is a good one.
I haven't
What
done
if
my
I was
homework.
I don't think that's appropriate for this. I gotta say, I'll give you guys a minute to think about,
I know what Rodney's
about
favorite
rocks.
rock.
I was actually thinking about this question the other night, and it's funny. The first thing I thought of is my favorite is Fool's Gold, which his actual name is pyrite.
Pyrite.
And the reason why I like Fool's Gold is because I have a piece of it from the Natural History Museum, the Boston Science Museum in Boston. I've had it ever since I was a kid. I got it from the gift shop, and I remembered my own little mnemonic device for learning the name of pyrite is I sing a little bit of Billy Joel's "I Don't Care What You Say Anymore. This is pyrite." Bum bum ba. Answer the question, guys.
Ryan bought me all that time, and I still don't.
I was gonna say pyrite, but I was gonna make a stupid joke about how
Was it Billy
oh, yeah.
Joel?
No, my joke was gonna be like, "Oh, I love pyrite. It's worth a lot of money. It's a type of gold. You can find all sorts of pyrite deposits. Geodes are cool. I think
geodes are pretty
I'm gonna
awesome.
take geodes. Have you ever seen the movie The Gate? There's a cool evil geode in that.
I got a geode from Canopy Lake Park, also through their gift shop. I'm a fan of gift shops. I like them.
Canopy Lake Park, by the way, when Six Flags is too far away.
Yes.
That's what it's for.
And then I rinsed it off. It got dusty, and I rinsed it off, and and that's when I did this. I just ran it out of the sink for a little while with moderately warm water, and a bunch of dye came off the center of it, and I realized that I had been cheated. They just painted it a little because it wasn't that interesting inside. And I got a bad geode from Canopy Lake Park.
Oh,
That's
man.
a shame.
Yeah.
I think we should move on from this
Well,
question.
wait. What's your favorite rock?
I don't have a favorite rock.
So that's why it's okay to move on.
Okay.
Question 3. Michael, in parentheses, kickin' rad, Corliss.
Okay.
As kids, who probably walked down the horror aisle at your video store, what were some of the more fascinating covers you remember? Perhaps the most disappointing movies compared to very promising covers?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
You
You can make a lot of money off that cover. It doesn't mean you get what you want.
My parents let me get away with renting a lot of horror films for a while because I used to want to rent things like Vincent Price movies, like really just totally okay for kids to watch horror films from the 60s and stuff. I never got to rent The Amazing Melting Man, The Incredible Melting Man.
Is that the 70s one?
Yes. Do you remember this movie?
No.
They did a Mystery Science Theater about it.
It's the cover's intense, and it was just a disturbing idea about a man melting apart. It's like an astronaut. I think the whole movie's up for free on YouTube. But my parents wouldn't let me rent that. They let me rent the Toxic Avenger movies, which are borderline X-rated
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Also not worth watching.
But that's a
right?
great cover. The Amazing
They're
Melting
trauma movies, right?
Yeah,
The Toxic
they're
Avenger
the
trauma.
trauma movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yep.
Well, what's some other good box art? I mean, like the usual ones are like the Critters movies and stuff like that, or Ghoulies, right?
For
Like,
me,
yeah.
it was The Howling.
Yeah.
I remember The Howling looking like this movie must be really cool. Yeah. And like, well, I'm your father and I'm the one with the money, and no, you don't.
Is the question what didn't live up to the cover, or just like what
I'm sure The Howling
Yeah.
wasn't nearly as cool as the cover art was for it.
I've never
no
seen
way.
it. It's a Joe Dante movie though.
There's a really long transformation sequence in that movie where someone could easily escape the werewolf. And it's seriously like 5 minutes of just like, oh no, you're still turning into the werewolf.
I remember the Hellraiser covers were awesome.
Yeah.
They were like really high resolution close-ups of Pinhead's face.
Yeah.
To be like, this film is not for children because it's about adultery.
What I like about Hellraiser is it's kind of like a gory version of Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
It's got like the mom and the dad and the daughter, and
Yeah.
I guess Hellraiser's Beetlejuice, and there's no Alec Baldwin to be seen.
Yeah.
Uncle Frank. Yeah, he's the Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like such a scaredy cat. I really avoided the horror aisle completely when I was a kid. Some of the ones I remember seeing were probably like the 80s Blob cover.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
That is fantastic, though. That lives up to the.
I remember the Evil Dead 2 cover with the skeleton.
A lot of people are scared by that image, and I never understood it.
I think it's kind of a weirdly classy cover for what Evil Dead 2 is.
Yeah.
Don't you? It's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't seen it, we'll probably put it in the video version of this, but it's a skull with human eye, like just regular eyeballs in it.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like a calm skeleton, like looking at the camera with a human eye. I didn't think it was that scary. I just remember it just like sticks out. It's a really good cover, but it almost doesn't belong with Evil Dead 2, which is just like slapstick and
An amazing movie,
craziness.
but
It's an
amazing for
movie,
different
but yeah,
reasons. Yeah.
Christian Medico. What are some of your favorite Halloween costumes that you've worn growing up? Did you usually make your own or get store-bought costumes?
My parents had to pull rank at one point because I wanted to be the Terminator so many times. I think I was the Terminator twice, and the third time my parents were like, you got to stop doing this. I really liked the Terminator. Dick Tracy was an early favorite of mine.
Oh, that's
though.
cool.
I loved Dick Tracy, so that was probably my favorite as a kid.
I remember I dressed up as Mrs. Bates at one point. I was in like 4th grade. I had never seen Psycho, but I knew that there was a knife-wielding old lady or guy dressed as an old lady.
You knew it was a guy dressed as an old lady, though, right?
I forget if I really knew the twist. I just knew that, I think maybe I had the idea that like, oh, I'll be an evil granny. I don't know where I got the idea, but I got like the knife with the blood inside of it.
Yeah.
And I got the wig, and I dressed up, and I went to a school dance dressed as this old lady with a knife. That was probably my best kid costume.
How old were you? Like 10?
I forget what grade it was, but you remember they used to have like the Halloween dances?
They were called the 56 Club dances.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was for 5th and 6th grade.
Oh, so maybe
right.
I was in 5th grade then.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan? You probably have a good one.
I have distinct memories of being a Ghostbuster. A great costume that you can even like wear a sweater underneath if it's getting cold out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes October 31st it's actually cold by then. That happens.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. It's flexible. It's durable. You can roll around. Let's see. I have a really vague memory of Ninja Turtle costumes between my brother and I, but they were not good. It was like tantamount to a bandana.
It's a lot easier to be a
Raphael, he would have been
Ghostbuster.
Leonardo, or maybe Donatello, but I definitely would have been Red. And I have a lot of memories of wearing uncomfortable rubber masks and getting that Spirit Halloween smell that you just can't
Never
get
liked
off
the
of
masks.
you.
Yeah.
I always avoided them.
I always remember liking them and then regretting them the entire time.
I do have a good story. One year in school, this must have been like 3rd grade or something, there was a bring your costume to school day, and I didn't know. So I came to school without a costume, and everyone else had a costume, and the solution, apparently, I let them do this, was I went to the nurse's office, and in the nurse's office, they had a loner costume.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
And it was a
good job, Kingston Elementary
yeah,
School.
but it was
Not
a
bad.
clown outfit. And not a scary clown. It was just kind of a
Gender neutral.
loser, gender neutral clown. And I dressed up as the clown. I remember feeling like a little embarrassed, but not like Doug embarrassed.
Everybody was dressed up in something goofy, probably. I remember that
guess.
day because we had a bunch of kids who came as Power Rangers, and they all dressed as the Power Rangers they shared a name with. So there's a kid named Jason who dressed as the Red Ranger. Every girl named Kimberly was dressed as the Pink Ranger. I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
There's-
We all went to school together.
I think I dressed as the Mask for that.
I
Really?
remember when you were dressed as the Mask. I don't remember what I was that year.
Man, that's smoking.
Next question.
Next question.
Smoking.
All right. Bulldozer. Cool. With how Hollywood seems to be obsessed with making sequels/reboots for pretty much every old movie nowadays, here's an interesting question. I agree. Is there a movie you think that has not received a sequel but could actually use one / would benefit from a sequel?
A movie that would benefit from a sequel that never got one?
Correct.
Oh, geez.
Talking like an older movie.
What universe would I enjoy seeing expanded further?
For a
I know
while,
they're
it would
doing-
have been Incredibles for a while,
yeah.
but now they've taken care of that.
Very good. I know that there are some plans to do some level of soft reboot or I don't know what to Highlander. I thought Highlander was an awesome concept. Most of its iterations have been absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Just make Highlander cool. Make it an anime. Make it or any other form of animation. Make it a series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Just it's people cut each other's heads off and they get their powers and it's kind of gay, but it's got a lot of potential
There's
to
no
be
but after that.
awesome.
That's a pro.
It's
a perfect movie.
it's a lot of fun.
I
Highlander
think,
could be awesome again.
I think I know the original. I think they should have made a second Freddy versus Jason, and it's not a great movie. It's entertaining as hell.
Oh yeah.
But it's bad. It's like it's entertaining in the way that like Batman Forever is really entertaining to me. It's schlock, but like it's always fun to look at. Have you ever seen Freddy versus Jason?
No.
You?
Oh yeah.
It's weird because like there's a bunch of cameos in the movie and they couldn't get the cameo actors. So there's a guy that's clearly supposed to be Jack Black. There are dudes in it who are clearly supposed to be Jay and Silent Bob, but they couldn't afford Jay Muse. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a weird movie, but they were trying to make the sequel almost immediately with Bruce Campbell, and there's a whole fiasco about not getting to make Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and I think that would have absolutely elevated the entire thing, like a whole letter grade. So
Oh, man.
the thing is, like, I remember growing up and being in high school and wanting sequels to movies so bad, and then I pretty much got all of them,
Yeah.
and it like most of them I was very unhappy with, you know.
Yeah, I'm totally blanking because everything has been rebooted or given a sequel, and the things that haven't are kind of too sacred to, like Jaws or whatever. Well, there's sequels to Jaws, but you know what I mean.
But if someone told you we're going to make a Blade Runner sequel, you'd be like, "What? No!" And then they did it. And apparently,
they
it was,
did,
Yeah, it was
and
good.
it was worth it, I think.
Yeah. Or Rocky, like they just keep making good Rocky movies.
Oh, here's a good one. They should make a new Spinal Tap movie.
Huh? That's a good pick.
Yeah, just get those guys. They're all
still
old now.
going.
Yeah, they're still
going.
touring.
That'd be great.
That'd be great. Yeah, just
That
make
would
a
be
new
funny.
Spinal Tap movie. I'd watch that.
What about a second Simpsons movie that's just the end, or is it too late?
Not too late.
If the movie was the ending,
The first Simpsons
happy
movie was
with it.
too late, and it turned out fine. So sure, why not?
yeah.
Cool. Bayana, who has written into us a couple of times, thank you, longtime fan, longtime listener. She wrote, this will apply to all of us, but I'm just going to read the way she wrote it. Ryan, what's your opinion on Lovecraft? Do you have a favorite tale by him, or any favorite cosmic horror tales at all by any author? In parentheses, Neil and Kevin, I don't know how much you know about H.P. Lovecraft, but if you have an opinion, then go ahead. If I may, all right, Lovecraft. I do love cosmic horror, obviously. You've seen my creepypastas, you've read my stuff, you've watched our videos, you know that we all love horror.
Sure.
We all love cosmic horror. And here's how I'll open this. A long time ago, the famous writer George Orwell wrote a really interesting piece criticizing Salvador Dali. And he acknowledged that Salvador Dali is both a really talented painter and an asshole. That's the short version. He's a piece of shit human being, but what he does is really good, and I respect it and appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's the point of George Orwell's 1984 Animal Farms little letter is about his dissertation, manifesto, whatever, is to acknowledge an intelligent human being is able to keep those two mutually exclusive truths. Salvador Dali can be a brilliant painter and an asshole. H.P. Lovecraft, we're going to take the baby with the bathwater, was a fucking racist.
It's hard because the type of horror that Lovecraft wrote, it's once you know those things about him, it's so hard to divorce.
Don't
Because
separate.
it makes it into the work, right?
Everything kind of starts to
Oh,
feel like a metaphor for those feelings.
My favorite H.P. Lovecraft story, by the way, is a really funky one called The Shadow Out of Time. That's just to answer your question. But H.P. Lovecraft was a talented writer who had some really bad views on human beings. And I'm not going to pretend he didn't.
There have been other great horror writers since Lovecraft too, right? And you have to just sort of like acknowledge.
R.L. Stein.
You have to acknowledge what Lovecraft did with that grain of salt. Like, yeah, but you don't need to like just read that stuff. Do you think Lovecraft is easy enough to return to versus something like Shakespeare, where like it's kind of thick and you really do need to like study like iambic pentameter or whatever to really digest what the writing's about? Like, or do you think you can just sit down with Lovecraft and read it today?
Sit down and read it today.
It still holds?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never read any.
Could you really adapt Lovecraft stuff into a movie? I mean, someone must be trying to make.
At the Mountains of Madness, Guillermo del Toro has been like on and off this
Yeah.
for like forever. Yeah.
Reanimator is a good movie.
Oh, yeah. Reanimators, Lovecraft.
The real Ghostbusters, the Collect Call of Cthulhu is a really nice.
How direct of an adaptation is that?
It treats the Cult of Cthulhu as a matter of fact. Like, no, this is happening right now. They're resurrecting Cthulhu. They're like summoning him, and the Ghostbusters have to stop him. It's awesome. If you like the Ghostbusters and you've never seen that show, just watch that episode. The Collect Call of Cthulhu. It's a classic. So.
A user named Pika wrote, which again, this is a good question, but I was
Pokemon.
avoiding it because I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly. Not Pika Bread. I think I got that. Pika Bread.
Yeah.
If I'm saying Pika Bread wrong, Pika Bread. Please share with us in the comments. Pika
Actually,
Bread wrote.
pica bread. They just eat a lot of bread. No.
Pika Bread wrote,
Okay.
"What are everyone's opinions on?" And if I'm saying this correctly, Toblerone, the fancy
Toblerone.
Toblerone.
Oh, the
Thank
candy?
you. They're expensive chocolates that come in triangular form with thin tinsel over them. I think they're imported from Switzerland, somewhere in Europe. They are
Yeah.
imported. They don't make them in America.
Sure.
They're delicious.
Yeah.
That's the short answer is they're delicious.
They're great.
I once received a bar as a gift around Christmas time, and I ate about half of it, and I I left it wrapped up and until like 6 months later, and the rest of it was still delicious, and I ate it. I probably shouldn't have, but I ate it.
Yeah, I haven't had one in like 10 or 15 years or something, but I remember them being good. I'm not a big chocolate guy normally. I don't dislike it, but I don't specifically buy it if I have my choice of candy. So yeah, I'm kind of neutral on Toblerone. I remember it being pretty good, though.
We're going to find out
They're
that Pika
delicious.
Bread works for the Toblerone Corporation. They're like, watch this. We don't even have to pay them. Hey, what do you think of Toblerone?
They don't even give us Toblerones.
In response to to Pika Breads, Hillary Taverna, of all people, wrote into us, Pika Breads, comment, made me think of a video I saw this year of someone opening Ferrero Rocher chocolates and finding maggots in them.
Oh, I've seen that.
Now my childhood love of them is ruined. My question is, can each of you share one awful food memory from your childhood?
I once had one of those little $1 pies from Walmart.
Yeah.
Little cherry pies.
Oh,
I didn't store it correctly. I'm not blaming Walmart. It had very small maggots in it. Like, I don't know what they were.
That's
They were
bad.
little tiny worms. I had warmed it up for about 10 seconds in the microwave, so they were squiggling. And I didn't see them, and I bit into it, and I looked down, and I realized what was in my mouth, and I spit it out, and then I went and got some more pies the next day. And
From the same place?
From the same place, yes.
You learned your lesson.
It had been stored in the drawer, and it should have been in the fridge. It was my problem. I'm not blaming the good people at Walmart.
This isn't as gross, but I remember being in preschool, and there were a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts given to us one day. And I was given a jelly donut, and I was so excited to eat it. I was maybe 4. And I bit right into it, and I bit on my finger really hard because I was probably 3.5. And I gave myself an awful blister. and it like kind of scared me off from having jelly donuts. I still don't like
You
jelly
associate
donuts. Yeah,
jelly donuts with
I still don't-
physical pain with
I still don't like jelly
repercussions.
donuts. Yeah, because I was a stupid kid and I bit into a donut too fast. So, what about you, Ryan?
For me, it would be getting very sick with not food poisoning, but the flu, and being in bed, really feeling bad around St. Patrick's Day during March, and my mother cooking corned beef and cabbage, and the smell with the boiling permeating into, you feel it on your skin. Yeah. It's in every room. You can open the windows and the doors, but just not feeling good, and having this really thick, very visceral smell on everything. And I distinctly remember at the time that The Ring had just come out, and I got it on DVD. But that I remember watching The Ring, feeling really sick, and getting the smell. When I see footage of The Ring, I think about the smell of corned beef and cabbage. And I associate them with very negative feelings of disgust, feelings of feeling sick to your stomach.
Probably enhances the movie though.
Oh yeah. The Ring they did a good job. They did a really good job.
I enjoyed
with
that movie.
I had that kind of happen with me because the first time I watched Rocky, I was over your house.
Yeah.
And I ate a ton of jerky and Doritos.
Probably bought it at Walmart.
Yeah. And then I went home and I got the flu that night, and I threw all that up and had fever dreams about Rocky. So
Were they good? Was he like nice?
No, with fever dreams, it's more like it's never like the main part of the movie. It's more like the side
world.
Characters and the subplots and stuff. And
Polly
you just
was
kind of
crying about losing a lottery ticket or something.
Yeah, it's just like you just get like uncomfortably focused on something that doesn't really matter when you have those kind of dreams.
Sure.
And that's happened to me with Rocky and with the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That happened once.
Yeah.
Alex Johnson writes in, thank you, Alex. Can you recall any particularly odd or memorable pieces of shareware, or even just websites from the days of slow internet speeds in the 90s?
Oh, totally. I mean, like the early days of the internet, we got dial-up internet. And it took all day to set up in like 96, I'm guessing. And I remember going down to use the internet that night at like 9 o'clock and dialing in and not knowing what to do with the internet. Like just finding a search bar. There was no search bar. There was no Google. Like just finding a website to search through was huge. And I was like, well, I've heard of Yahoo. So I went to Yahoo and I punched in just Ghostbusters. And I went to like a real Ghostbusters website. It was called Mr. Stay Puft's World of Sounds. It's probably still up. And it's just a bunch of WAV files of lines from the movies.
Oh, yeah. Shareware was big. There's like tons of shareware games where it was just like the first couple like levels or whatever.
Yeah. Redneck Rampage.
Yeah, the demo for Postal just popped into my mind for some reason. Stuff like Winamp that was technically shareware, but it was basically fully functional. I don't know if Winamp was a good example, but there were a lot of programs that kind of had like a weak nag screen that you could just close really quickly.
Yeah.
My strongest memory would be a pre-YouTube world of looking up really lame, really small, low-quality trailers for The Matrix Reloaded and being really excited my sophomore year of high school that another Matrix movie is coming out. I didn't know. I was waiting for the movie to come.
I remember downloading video game demos overnight because I wanted to play Monster Truck Madness. And the demo was like one complete level, and you could race the AI. And I just left the computer on overnight because it was like 12 megabytes or something. And it took all night to download that. But I remember even like the official Microsoft websites looking really rinky-dink at the time for game downloads and such.
Carrie Hansen asked, do any of you have weird or crazy fan stories, parentheses, admirers of your work fans, not air circulating fans?
At conventions, I've been recognized and people just want to take photos. I was shooting an interview for my documentary, not for resale, the feature I'm editing right now, at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And I walked up to this couple and I started interviewing them for the movie. They were into it. They were totally game. And then when we were done interviewing, they both mentioned like, oh, we love New Kids on the Rock and all this stuff. Like they were very nice about it. But no, I don't have any weirdo stories. I don't have any people, you might have. Like, didn't you have someone like put your address up on the internet once?
That was me. I put my address.
No,
on the
you
internet.
asked us like what we should know. I remember this because your sister and Laura and everybody were like, we need to like get this off the internet. And you're like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And like then you asked Ryan, be like, is this a big deal? Because someone had uploaded a YouTube video with like a satellite image of
I
your.
remember. Well, that was kind of my fault because I made the video on YouTube. Early days of YouTube. Before internet harassment was like
asking for death threats.
Yeah, I thought it would be kind of funny and ironic to make a video where I had a contest where I asked for creative death threats and I asked people to make video responses because video responses used to be a thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I will rank the winners of the most creative death threats, and most of them got the joke and were cool. But there was one that actually like incorporated my address and like a satellite photo of my house that I thought was crossing the line. But I also was like, yeah, I know that I kind of like invited.
This
dark
person
humor,
probably meant well. Like,
yeah, they probably
got an
did.
A for effort, but yeah.
My most interesting fan story, I think I've told it before, maybe not on the podcast, but if you Google my name and Joe Jonas, you'll probably find me telling it on Twitter. Joe Jonas contacted me, and he was a fan of my mouth moods,
your music.
He was a fan of like some of my mashup albums, and he, I guess, didn't know anyone else in Boston, so he asked me to meet him backstage before his band did a show, and they were all really nice, cool people, and I, got to watch this, crazy expensive pop show that was like super packed and filled out the whole, hockey arena that they were playing in, just like the kind of show that I would never go to otherwise.
Were you, Ryan? You ever get recognized or anything?
Once a long time ago, I was in Cambridge, and I was walking to the garment district, which is not an actual district, it's a store. It's a fun store, vintage clothes, and
you can buy clothes by the pound.
Yep, they have a pit where you just like dig through a whole pile of filth.
Yeah.
And a guy knew me from Pipe Dream. One of the earliest things I did way before college, arguably the first video I put together. On
like Google Video, right? Not on YouTube.
Yeah, it was not uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah,
it was
Google Video
YouTube.
was the first platform you could just do as long as you want.
I would show it at like parties and things with my mini DV camcorder hooked up with a yellow, white, red RCA cable to the TV. That was the best way of distributing this. Yeah. To get an audience of like 5 humans, that
Back
is.
then you were a movie star, though, because you made a movie.
Yeah, it took effort. People didn't, before you had HD recording in your pocket everywhere you go with your phone. You had to actually like make a conscious decision to pick up a camera and like do something.
You had to capture that footage analog style to your computer and everything, so people were impressed by it. But you got recognized for making that movie? Like,
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's it for this episode's Q&A segment. If you'd like to ask a question for our next episode, head on over to guaranteedvideo.com, become a patron. You can put in any amount you want. We only charge whenever we make a new movie, not even monthly. So you put in $1, you can be on the Q&A list if you'd like. Ryan, Neil, I guess that's it for this episode of Guaranteed Audio.
That is it. What a ride, guys. We're back. A dinosaur story.
It's aged like wine.
Yeah, we want to thank Corey, our dinosaur expert, and Rodney.
Yep, Rodney was great. We'll be back soon with our next episode and hopefully a new movie in the near future. Thanks for sticking with the show. If you'd like to see the other episodes of Guaranteed Audio, just head on over to our YouTube page. We'll probably put a link in the video somewhere, maybe above us, because there's the most amount of headroom up there.
Oh, I thought you were swatting at a fly or something.
Yeah, well, it'll be put in later.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, but yeah, we have a bunch of other podcasts and bonus features and behind-the-scenes material from our other movies. And that's all I have to say. All right, Papa Gino's?
Let's go get some pizza. Are we going to stay in our suits?
No.